Glad you showed up. I had nobody beside me. I feel pretty lonely over here.
Right? I know, it was gonna be on two. I kinda got in on the very last second. Well, it was a little miscommunication. I don't know if those Secretary of State did that.
Yeah. Figured it out. No, I plan it. Website.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the North 65 Chamber of Commerce Candidate Forum. My name is Melissa Bettendorf, and I'm the Chamber Executive Director. We're here this evening to provide voters with an opportunity to hear from local candidates running for office and to gain valuable insights into the policies, visions, and qualifications of those seeking to serve our communities. This is the second of two forums. On Thursday, we met the candidates for Cambridge City Council and Isanti County Commissioner. Tonight, we'll be meeting the candidates for the offices of Isanti City Council and Cambridge-Isanti School Board Member. Before we get started, please take a moment right now to ensure that your phone is silenced. Thank you very much for that. And I'd like to also review the forum guidelines with you. A complete list of the guidelines are posted at the entrance. The purpose of this forum is to provide information. It's not a debate. There are no campaign materials allowed in this room. There is a table in the entryway for you to leave your information. We do ask that you refrain from exuberant expressions of support or opposition to any candidate during the forum. This event is being broadcast via live stream. Hello to our online viewers. A recording will be made available to the public later this week unless a technical difficulty prevents us from doing so. This evening, guests may not speak directly to the candidates or the moderator. Questions must be submitted in writing. You can either do that via the webinar Q&A or note cards that are provided on site. There were some outside the door, and there'll be people coming around to provide you with cards and collect those throughout the event. Additionally, questions were received through an online form, and that form is now closed. A reminder, please address your questions to all candidates for an office, as all of the candidates will have the opportunity to answer each question. Audience questions on similar issues might be consolidated or rephrased. The number of questions asked will be determined by the amount of time available. The moderator will inform candidates of the time allotted to answer each question. A timekeeper will provide notice of time remaining to candidates using the time right here in the middle. The first and subsequent speakers were determined by random drawing. And in our short time this evening, we'll only touch the surface of many important issues. And unfortunately, we will maybe not be able to ask all of the audience questions. We do encourage you to reach out to the candidates for further discussion after tonight's event. And before we begin, I'd like to recognize those who've made tonight possible. Vanessa Hansel is the Chamber Assistant Executive Director. Vanessa will gather your questions. Liz Shattuck is the Chamber Member Relations Coordinator, and she'll be overseeing our online audience. I'd like to thank our event committee members who also serve on the Chamber Board of Directors. Rebecca Trethaway with EFS Advisors, Christy Patrick with Pretty Little Signs, Nikita Ostrom with Rosewood Senior Living, and Julie Page with Impact Coaching Solutions. Our timekeeper tonight is Diane Rasmussen. Diane is a retired member of our business community. And a special thank you to the team here at Anoka Ramsey Community College for hosting us and helping us through all the technology. Tonight's moderator is Kelby Jennison. Kelby is a chamber member and a local resident. Thank you for sharing your time with us tonight, Kelby. Now, let's get started.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Kelby, and I'm pleased to be your moderator for tonight's forum. We will begin tonight with introductions. Audience, all of our candidates on stage are seeking election to the Isanti City Council. Of the current 3 open positions, 2 candidates are running for a 2-year term in a special election, and 4 candidates are vying for 2 open seats on a standard 4-year term. As we begin introductions, candidates, please state the term you are running for. This is also noted on your name cards. You will each have 2 minutes to introduce yourselves in a random drawing. Zach, you are selected to go first. We'll go down the line.
Good evening. My name is Zach Launderville. I am seeking a 4-year term for Isanti City. And just a little bit about myself. I'm married 13 years. I have 2 boys, and we have 2 girls, twins on the way, due in December. So that's a little bit about my family. I've lived in Isanti now for 8 years. Grew up in Rush City, not too far from here, so I'm familiar to the area, been around the area. 35 years old now, and I work down in Coon Rapids at a machine shop. I guess I like the outdoors. I like the small town feel, and overall, I've just really enjoyed Isanti town as a place to live, and looking to just hopefully keep it that way. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Good evening, I am Terry Lundeen. I am running for a 4-year term for the city of Isanti. I am a mom of 2 little girls. I lived in Isanti when we moved here in 2020, so I graduated from Big Lake actually, so this is a newer town for me. I am a family child care provider for the city, or like county for Isanti. So that's what I do for my day job. I'm on the Park and Recreation Board, so I'm the vice chair for that, for the city of Isanti. So I'm just looking to learn more information and see what the community wants.
Good evening, everyone. My name is George Heeman. I was appointed to City Council in February 2023. I'm running for a 4-year term. With deep roots in our community and a commitment to its future, I bring over 3 decades of experience as a proud resident of Isanti and a business owner. I believe in giving back to the community. I believe in the potential of Isanti and its people. I moved to Isanti in 1987, and I've witnessed firsthand the growth and evolution of our city. As a business owner, I understand the importance of responsible governance, fiscal responsibility, and prudent decision-making. During my 1.5 years on City Council, I've been proud to support initiatives that benefit our residents. I helped with and voted for the lowest tax rate on record going back over 30 years, helping to ease the burden on taxpayers. Additionally, I've continually advocated for and voted for to expand property rights, ensuring that homeowners have freedoms they deserve. I continue to look for ways to cut red tape and bring new businesses into the city and explore new ways to make it easier for existing businesses to thrive. My vision for Isanti is one of sustainable growth, fiscal responsibility, economic development, and community engagement. As your city council member, I work tirelessly to represent all the interests of the residents. With your support, I will continue to work to uphold our values, make decisions that benefit our entire community. I'm committed to ensuring that our city remains a safe, vibrant place for families to thrive and businesses to prosper, and every voice is heard in local governance. I humbly ask for your support and invite you to join me in this journey, and I'm eager to hear your concerns, ideas. I have a website, www.georgeheeman.com. Check it out.
Hello, my name is Jacob Miller. I'm running for the special election 2-year term. A little bit about me. I graduated Cambridge-Isanti in 2012. Shortly after graduating high school, I enlisted in the United States Navy as a Master at Arms. I was stationed at Washington State with the Marines. And then when I completed that assignment, I was stationed at Walter Reed Medical Center doing law enforcement VIP protection there for candidates. While I was serving, I married my wife, and we ended up staying in Maryland for a couple of years because and while there, I decided to continue serving and join the local sheriff's office there for about 3 years. As I got older, older and more mature, and the birth of my daughter, I realized that living in the East Coast in a fast-paced lifestyle was just not for me. So the wife and I decided to move back to Minnesota, where both our families reside here in Isanti County. That journey led me to continue my law enforcement goals, and I'm still actively in law enforcement now as a deputy sheriff. Going from that high-paced lifestyle back here to Minnesota, to the city of Isanti, I kind of yearned for it. So I think a lot of things that I missed was the small community feel, the ability to talk to people. Because let me tell you, you can't talk to people on the East Coast. They frown upon that. No small talks allowed. But I believe that my experiences in different communities gives me the experience that would be an asset in our community here. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. You'll have 1 minute for our next question. What 2 issues do you believe are most important to the citizens of Isanti? And Taylor, we'll start with you.
My test, okay. I believe the number one concern is obviously the taxes. It's been a conversation that has been brought up. So I'm just wanting to look further into why are the taxes higher and how can we reduce them? The second concern would be the safety. I always want to make sure that it is safe for our residents. As I run a child care center or child care out of my home, I always make sure that it's safe within our community.
Can you repeat the question?
Absolutely. What 2 issues do you believe are most important to the citizens of Isanti?
Protecting your hard-earned money. I'll always fight against new tax rates and tax increases. You know, cities are always taking the easy way out. I want to focus on our existing resources and make them work harder for us. Eliminate wasteful spending. Just ensure that taxpayer dollars are used efficiently and effectively. Our community deserves a government that respects our hard-earned money and strives to provide high-quality services without placing additional burdens on their citizens. I think we need to concentrate on our infrastructure and make sure it stays up to date and maintained.
So going door to door, I think the 2 biggest things that folks have told me is public safety and taxes. We want to ensure that the citizens in our city here are safe. We want to ensure that there's rapid response times. And we also want to ensure that taxes are kept in check. However, at the same time, we want to ensure that we're being a community that strives to encourage people to come up here and take jobs. So between those 2 points, I think a lot of us kind of have the same output, because we all live here. We all want to have cheap taxes.
I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but yeah, safety and taxes, like you said, when I've been walking around, door knocking, whether you're on community pages, you see it all over the place in our town. So that's definitely what's going on, and a concern of the constituents there. So as far as the taxes go, you know, I've been at the meetings currently. We've had, it sounds like the budget plan right now is a 0% increase in the city of Isanti. So what we're doing currently is great. We're not raising them any further. So like George said, how can we spend it efficiently, effectively, and get the most out of what everybody is spending with their tax money? As far as safety, I think the roads, what they've done with the reduced speeds, but just the street and the walking safety when you're out on the roads, as we continue to grow population wise, people are going to be wanting to travel through town on bikes, on their feet. How can we just get that safer?
Thank you. Our next question, you'll have 1.5 minutes to answer, regarding the city budget. Are there areas where increased investment is needed? And what about cuts to spending? And is a 0% levy increase feasible?
think a 0% levy increase should be every city's goal. Sure, it's not feasible in every year. Last year, I was really proud to be able to vote for one of the largest tax decreases we've had. And one of the ideas I had is looking at the tax rate, how can we keep that tax rate at zero? Because when property values increase, your tax increases. So we decided to go one step further, find out what the average property value increase was, and we lowered our tax rate to that average percentage so that when people open up their tax bill, they didn't see the increase from the year before. And that's what happens year in and year out is property values go up, people complain that their taxes went up, even though our levy may not have changed a whole lot. So I was happy we were able to do that last year. We might not be able to do that every year. There's a lot of moving parts to a city, and you never know what's going to come up. You know, there's a hopefully, you know, we have a pretty solid infrastructure, and hopefully in the future here we can continue to keep our rates low and our taxes as low as possible.
So for that question, I think a lot of the candidates are probably gonna repeat the same thing over and over again here, but obviously we all want to keep taxes low. Like I live here, I want my taxes to be low, I want to be able to thrive. Same time, we also want to ensure that our public safety is funded. We want to ensure our police officers, our firefighters have the gear and the necessary equipment to do their job. So I don't have the privilege of being on a council now, but I know that based on my experience and seeing other organizations run, we want to make sure that whatever we have, we're utilizing the best. And on the same token, the way things are currently going economically, we have to make sure that we have a future plan as well, right? The 0% levy, I commend you on that. You know, my taxes are lower, but at the same time, we have to make sure that in the future we have funds and resources available in case we do experience some hard times. Thank you.
Yeah, I would definitely go with what they said, you know, that's obviously feasible, whether it can happen year in, year out. You know, as I'm going to these council meetings currently, there's something that came up about the water infrastructure, potentially needing to replace or buy a brand new equipment for the water plants. Well, that's gonna be a huge expense. And how does that follow into what the expenses of the city are and whether or not they can keep the taxes zero or if that's, you know, gonna affect the levy or not. So, there's like a lot of moving parts in the city as I'm learning. So I'm newer to this as well. I'm not on the board currently. So that's something that will definitely be a goal year in and year out as my term in that position. So.
I would say the budget is doing all right. There's probably some things that we could look into. For instance, there was a snow machine that was purchased that I just found that was unnecessary for taxpayers to put towards or out of the park dedication as well. So there's definitely some minor things that I would like to look into as it's just unnecessary spending on that perspective of it. But so far, I think the goal is obviously to keep it as minimum as possible and still reuse and recycle what we have within our city.
Thank you, candidates. You'll have 1 minute to answer the following question. In Isanti's comprehensive plan, it states that 59% of Isanti residents in the workforce still commute to jobs outside of the city, and that surveys have shown if more local jobs are available at competitive wage rates, citizens would rather work here. In what ways can the city council contribute to economic development and growing employment opportunities in the city? Again, 1 minute, and Jacob will start with you.
So when cities grow, you have to ensure you have competitive wages. on a city council aspect, I think a lot of this comes down to what incentives we can provide to bring some of these companies in. I'm a big proponent for small business. However, if you look at every city around us, they do have some large business aspects that are kind of like the anchor, right? City of Cambridge has Walmart, Target, things like that. So when I look at it for the standpoint of City of Isanti, what is our large big box anchor? And what are we gonna do to accomplish that? For me, it's just encouraging the small business aspect as well as getting some sort of anchor store or something here that will help lower the taxes for regular citizens here. Thanks.
As somebody who does commute for my job, I definitely see that as a good need for the city. How to obtain that, I would have to say, first and foremost, getting more, big box store places in town, or grocery stores, or gas stations, those, they don't pay a significant wage for the average worker there. Maybe you're the manager of that place or something like that, but, to get some career type jobs in the community, I look at like what I do for a living, machine shop work. There's a machine shop in Isanti that I think is fairly competitive. They're a good owner. There's the cement company there, a couple other kind of commercial type businesses. More stuff like that, I think, is more the direction you want to go if you're going to get kind of career type jobs for the city, the people of the city of Isanti, to be able to work there. I'd also love to be working in that city too. So I'm a big proponent of that.
I would like to remind that the city of Isanti is a small town, so we want to keep it small and not have the big companies like Walmart come in, for instance. That's why it's in Cambridge. So that's why I'd like to promote smaller business or renew or reuse like their older buildings, and let's bring in some mom and pop and see if they want to provide a long life career for someone. Or like Wolf River's doing a pretty good job in providing a lot of jobs for a lot of people within Isanti. So I think just promoting businesses that are within Isanti and just going off of what we already have and just extending that, but not having the big corporate come in.
I think Cambridge will always be in a big box city. It doesn't make sense for a big box store to come to Isanti. I'm always looking for ways to make it easier for business to do business, and on council, we've been cutting red tape, we've been redistricting to make it easier for businesses to expand. And we've been relaxing sign usages, changing ordinances to make it a more friendly environment to attract businesses and to help our existing businesses attract new businesses. My top priority has always been to make our city as attractive as possible compared to surrounding cities. And the best way to do that is try to keep our tax rate as low as possible. And less red tape to navigate. It's a free market, we try to stay away from taxes.
Candidates, 1 minute. How would you balance development with preserving the character of Isanti? Then we'll start with you. I'll repeat the question. How would you balance development with preserving the character of Isanti?
Well, I think that goes along with what we were talking about, if you're to bring in more business. If you look at Isanti as a city, what is it, and what is the character of it? Yeah, small town feel, so like was stated, maybe not bringing in big box stores, keeping it small town, having the big park, having the BMX tracks, a huge community, gathering for a lot of people, whether you go there to participate or just to watch. So I think you've got to really be strategic about maybe what businesses come in and come out. Also, just obviously making communication, or not communicate, the travel through the city just more economical as well, just to make it aesthetically appeasing and as well as just easier to get from east side to west side, getting across 65, this and that, to get to those places that you want to go, so.
I think if you look at it within the residential perspective of it, we have multiple apartments that are going up within our town, so our town is already growing in that perspective of it. And we don't have a lot of room left to keep building these houses, so I think we're pretty much almost maxed out in the housing situation with the residents. So now all we really have left is the commercial, so then it's just promoting small businesses wanting to stay within Isanti and bringing in them, just making it more homey, I guess.
I'm sorry, repeat that one more time.
How would you balance development with preserving the character of Isanti?
I think Isanti in the past has done a pretty good job. I would like to see more industrial type businesses come in, medium, small industrial businesses. We have Wolf River came in, solar panels, industry, and they put on board quite a few jobs for the city. I think Isanti will have that small town feel for a long time. We don't have a lot of room at the moment to expand. I'm sure in the future we'll be able to develop some more land. I'd like to see a new industrial park go up. I think that should be on the top of our list. The character of the city, I love the character of the city right now. I think most people move there just for that reason.
I believe that looking down historic Maine, I feel like over the years, a lot of focus was on Main Street, but now Heritage has become the new Main Street of Isanti. I think that having a couple mom and pop restaurants on the main drag of Main Street would bring back some of our small businesses in that area. On the same token, I agree. I think another industrial park would be a great idea because a lot of the industries bring in an affordable wage and it will bring good people to our community so that way we do grow. I do like the small town vibe. However, at the same time, we have to stay current and ensure that our population is growing at least a steady rate. Thank you.
As the population of Isanti continues to grow, so will the traffic on city streets. What specific strategies would you recommend to address transportation infrastructure needs and concerns about traffic congestion? You'll have 1 minute. Taylor, we'll start with you.
I would say we sadly enforce the law. I mean, as much as we don't want to, but again, the speed is our number one concern. We live in a neighborhood and not often do we have cops driving by, but we also see cars driving by pretty quick. So I think if we just enforce it a little bit, we should be able to walk on a road safely and get to school safely and so forth. Same thing with like stop signs. You gotta stop on them, and I think if we enforce it a little more, it wouldn't be that bad, because then less accidents would happen for sure.
Yeah, one of the number one complaints I have is speeding, and as council, we've tried to address that. Part of our problem is we have a couple of county roads, County Road 5, Heritage Boulevard, Whiskey Road. You know, they're two problem areas. Enforcement, our police department can't be everywhere at once. We did pass a resolution to lower the speed limit in a lot of the residential areas to 25 miles an hour. We've had the police department put up signs that will tell you what speed you're going. And those signs also have a wealth of information. They give you a lot of data. And we've been using that data to work with the county and see if we can lower the speed limit on at least Whiskey Boulevard. But what happens is if the data comes back and you're actually driving too fast, then that can actually raise the speed limit. So we're doing our own. We're doing our own, thing right now to see what we need to do in the future.
I concur on the state speed thing, something that's been talked about in, past, meetings. I think the biggest thing is kind of policing our own, right? Talking to our neighbors, we know who's speeding. We live with these people, right? And just having a direct conversation with them. Sometimes people just need to have that human element behind it. I agree, our law enforcement can't be everywhere at the same time. However, a lot of those speed trailers do grab critical information. So that way, we're utilizing, law enforcement in the correct way. So that way they're not being stationed in an area where you only have 2 cars pass by, right? So I think a lot of it comes down to us just being neighbors, looking to our neighbors who may be a little bit heavier on that gas pedal and just having that conversation.
As travel continues to get busier and busier through the city of Isanti, I think right now in the works is on 5 there, right in front of Quick Trip, there's the roundabout that's scheduled to be going in as they're ironing out the details on all that. Hopefully everybody in the public is aware of that. It's been made pretty aware. So that's obviously gonna be a huge thing going on in the city, to change the flow of traffic there. But like I said, just continuing to keep people aware, the speeding really is a problem, obviously. In the target areas, county roads, we have no control over. Even as a city council member, how much power do we have to enforce all this stuff? City ordinances, you can do so many city ordinances, but then people have to follow them, right? And the law enforcement has to go out and hold these people accountable. So you're running thin on resources at that point. So how can you really enforce all these ordinances if we continue to just push more and more through? So yeah, I think it's just a continuation of talking to the public, reaching out to the people, and just making people aware that this is just going to be unsafe if we continue on this road.
Candidates, 1 minute. What tactics are working well to ensure transparency in city government? Are there areas where you'd like to see increased transparency or accountability? And George, we'll start with you.
The city council has done a lot to increase transparency. I'm a huge advocate for government being accountable to its residents. The residents' voices need to be respected and heard. This city council is, in all the years I've lived in Isanti, is one of the most transparent, I believe. We've added from YouTube, we've also added a Facebook live, which has really increased viewership a lot. I've seen some meetings over 1,000 views on Facebook. The other thing we've been doing, which is really unique for a city council, if somebody's out in the audience and they actually raise their hand and they have a question during a meeting, 99 times out of 100, we'll let them talk. And that's really rare at a city council meeting. We really believe all voices should be heard. And you know what? They might have an idea that we don't.
So I think the social media aspect is crucial. I got a lot of my information from the Facebook. Being a dad in a high-paced job, and my wife's in a high-paced job, we're not going to have the ability to go to every single meeting in person. A lot of the details I got was just simply having dinner with the wife and the little one, as she's throwing dino nuggets at me, and looking and watching the what's going on in the city. Now, we'll give one critique. I think the audio could be a little bit better sometimes. So I have to, turn it all the way up, and then someone will talk directly in the mic, and we'll wake the neighbors up. But besides that, I think a lot of the social media being the biggest part of getting the community engaged in what government is doing.
And Zach, before you begin, we'll repeat the question. What tactics are working well to ensure transparency in city government? Are there areas where you'd like to see increased transparency or accountability?
Yeah, I have to agree with the social media aspect of it. When I first started running for this position, the one way I started learning more about what the position entailed, was through the Facebook videos. I think that's a huge resource. As I walk around and do door knocking and talk to the locals, and mention this to them, a lot of people aren't even aware that that page exists. So it's just getting that out there more, getting that out to the public and letting them know that, that's there and accessible to them. Ways to be more transparent, just continuing to hear from the community, you know, can't just go talk to one person and get their perspective and say, yep, that's what the whole city wants. You need to be trying to get as many voices in your ear as possible. So as I get into the position, I would definitely seek out as many ways as possible to get your guys' voices into my ear, however that is, so.
I think the city is doing pretty well with the transparency, as every meeting is on my Facebook every single time. There's no questions asked about it. There's always usually a comment that one of the city council members or someone is able to address it afterwards, which is pretty good because, I mean, people don't always make these meetings, so they have to ask these questions. Another good thing that I like that is being transparency is that they're sending out surveys, asking questions, and that's for some people that don't want to raise their hand or don't want to comment and they want to be anonymous as possible. So I think the surveying is helping with the transparency because then it can give us the, I don't know, I mean, we all agree on one thing and some people can agree on the other thing. So it's good that we can get multiple perspectives from it.
Regarding the rights of homeowners around their property, do you feel the current ordinances are appropriate? Do you feel the current enforcement practices are appropriate? You'll have a minute and a half. Jacob, you will begin.
So living in the city, there was a lot of red tape, putting fences up, and luckily I have really nice neighbors, and I didn't have some of the drama, especially when you hear some of the meetings of people getting really aggressive over a line where a fence is going. I think removing and continuing to allow people to have their freedom within their property. However, at the same time, ensuring that we're presenting a nice image, right? We want to ensure that we're being neighborly. If something is, I'm a more direct guy. If my neighbor's doing something that's completely out there, I'm like sometimes just talking to folks and addressing it, and they're just not tracking it. So I think that continuing to eliminate the red tape and just being neighbors is kind of the way to go.
Yeah, I want to highlight that fence, ordinance that was, or the kind of removed, so that you didn't have to go to the city. You could kind of just communicate with the neighbors that butted up to your property and figure out your fence line that way, and didn't have to go to permit, have to have extra expenses. And get the city involved in that, so putting it more into the hands of the people that live in that spot. I think that's a huge move, and I'd be a proponent to more things like that. I think there's not a whole lot else that's lacking as far as like feeling like you can kind of live your life fairly freely in Isanti. I think that it's pretty open. I don't think the city holds too many things too tight. But if there is, as I get into the position, I'd learn more, but if there was anything, I think we want to seek that out, so.
Thank you. Taylor, before you begin, again, the question regarding the rights of homeowners around their property. Do you feel the current ordinances are appropriate? And do you feel the current enforcement practices are appropriate?
I think the city of Isanti is going in the right direction with loosening up some of these things, for instance, the fence. I think there's some things like having a tree, and you have to have so many trees in your yard. I just think that's another silly one. We have to remind each other that we're in a town, we're not an HOA. So some of these things need to be reevaluated. So if there's something that comes up that you don't want it to be a rule, I mean, bring it up to the council and let's talk about it, because obviously there's other things out there that we all don't think of every day because we don't have things happening every single day.
Yeah, Taylor has that right. I mean, if you have a problem with your neighbor, first thing you should do is talk to your neighbor. You know, I'm always looking for ways to change ordinances and to reflect what people are actually doing in the city. You know, we had a prior mayor that wanted to make Isanti like Edina, you know, and that's not who we are as a city. You know, instead of the city telling them what they need to do, I think our residents should have rules that fit the community. People need to take personal responsibility. You know, right now we have a complaint-based structure in Isanti, so we don't have somebody driving around looking for one tire parked on the grass and giving you a ticket. And I think that works well, and we're bringing it one step further, we hope, here in the future, and that is complaint-based within your own neighborhood. So somebody on the other end of town can't complain about somebody else on the other end of town.
Thank you. Our next question, you'll have 1 minute to answer. Zach, we'll begin with you. What qualifications, education, and experience do you possess that would make you a great city council member?
I would say that my experience has been in construction. I did many years of construction. So as far as anything that gets presented to me along those lines of city streets or building codes and stuff for houses or any sort of commercial areas, I've got a decent knowledge in how that all goes. I've just been a resident of the area for a long enough time that I just feel like I have a good understanding of what the people are wanting. Again, still willing to learn a lot more though. And like I said, just to continue to be an ear to the general public of Isanti, and just receiving everything. If I'm wrong in an idea, then I would love to hear perspectives and change my mind in that and what I'm thinking. So
I'm gonna be honest, this is my first time doing this. My goal was to be in city council within 5 years, and I'm doing okay with it. What started me off of doing this was I started on the Park Recreation Board almost a year ago, so that is what wanted me to pursue my city some more. I'm a mom of two, so I have a different perspective as I'm a mom, and I'm also a small business owner within Isanti because I own my own childcare. So giving those, I feel like that will help me with a different perspective of a different public viewing as I'm younger and I'm a mom. So I think that just says something as itself.
And George's question again here, what qualifications, education, and experience do you possess that would make you a great city council member?
I'm a little bit of a jack of all trades. I got into city politics years ago, when the administration at that time was not doing the will of the people. They were doing the will of themselves, and they weren't being transparent. They weren't talking, you know, so I buckled down, I read the mayor's handbook, I read the council's handbook, I explored the League of Minnesota Cities, I read everything I could about it, and I realized that our city government wasn't running the way that city government should run. It wasn't transparent, it wasn't doing the will of the people. It wasn't asking the right questions. You can't be a council member and have an agenda. Your agenda should be the will of the people, what they want. You're a representative of them. You're an advocate of them. And that's about all I have to say.
So I think a lot of my experience would derive from my time in the military and understanding the checks and balances. The people make the choices here in our democracy. The same token, being able to make decisions and stick to them, right? Have I made mistakes? Absolutely. However, I believe in the core concept of extreme ownership and learning from it. A lot of my experiences of being in different communities, different leadership roles, and having to perform those roles with quick, lasting judgments, things like that, where you have to make a decision and go with it. You have to go with what's being presented to you. I think here in the city council, I try to make fun of government, everything runs a little bit slower. So this is one of those few times where you can kind of sit back and think your way through something instead of having to make a split-second decision. Thanks.
Candidates will begin with Taylor. You'll have 1 minute. If elected, what are your top 2 goals for your first year in office?
Again, we're back to the taxes and the safety of our residents. So like I said, I want to look into why are taxes so much? What can we do to reduce them even more? Again, back with the safety. What else can we do to make sure that it's safe for our residents, whether you're walking or if you're sitting out on your deck? We just want to make sure everyone is safe and enjoying their time, I guess.
I don't really have any goals. We did our goal setting meeting. We're gonna be working on our goals in the future. I don't have an agenda. One of the things that are dear to my heart, we do have, being, Veterans Memorial, we're trying to put up on Main Street. We're working with the VFW. We're gonna try to do this all with, public funds. I'm looking forward to do our goal setting meeting here in the future, talking to our residents, seeing what they want. And listening to other council members and every year our goal setting meeting it's interesting and we do a lot of discussion on it. We try to figure out what are the best goals for the city. Right now, there's nothing huge sticking out that I think we really need to address other than what everyday cities need to address.
And the question once again here, if elected, what are your top 2 goals for your first year in office?
So I have my goals. However, I'm going to go to the will of the people for their goals. While I was campaigning and going door to door, the biggest thing was taxes, which I think we've hammered to death. So I'm going to go ahead and pivot to something a little different here. Parks, right? I know they're doing some expansions to Bluebird Park. I live close to that park. My daughter plays there. I think parks is a big thing that we need to continue to strive for and continue to grow on. I know Splash Pad was canceled. I was a little bummed out about that. All right. I was really looking forward to getting my dad, shorts on and going over there with the little one, but we'll reconvene to that. So I think parks and at the end of the day, ensuring that we have strong public safety, both police and fire. They have the necessary equipment to do their job, and especially in today's climate when things are a lot more stressful for our first responders.
Kind of narrow it down to one goal, I think, really. If this is something that I end up getting into and get elected into by people, it would be my job to just really absorb as much as I can in that first year. Being new to the position, being new to politics in general, granted this is a nonpartisan position, I would want to just absorb what it all entails to be a city council member of Isanti and see what I can do. And throughout that first year, just what are the decisions I have to make? What are the conversations I have to have with the current council board, with the employees of the city that sit there in those meetings, with the actual residents of the city. That would be my main focus, and really get a grasp on what that all entails. I do agree with parks. The parks are definitely a priority as well, but that's also, like George said, they have a plan right now that they're going to do. They got the budget, and what that looks like, I'm going to have to read, and that'll go into next year. So,
Thank you, George. We'll start with you on this one in 1 minute, and this is an audience question, so the number is not verified to be accurate. Did you know that the city of Isanti spends almost 60% of its budget on police? Do you think their service shows or warrants this?
You know, it's tough. It's tough. Our police department is actually over 60% of our budget because squad cars and there's a few other line items that actually don't go into the police budget. They go into the general fund. So I think we have an adequate police force. I'm worried in the future that it can get out of line. I've seen a lot of cities. There's actually a couple cities here, I think in Minnesota in the last year that actually dissolved because their police department budget got too big. Right now, we're not in that position. We just, I would like to find a way out of the box, like maybe set a percentage of our budget and that's all the police department gets for the foreseeable future and let them work on that, other than us having to appropriate more money, it seems like year after year after year, and that's not gonna be feasible. So hopefully we can come up with a solution here in the near future on our police department.
Coming from living in a different state where, let me tell you, when you call the police, you might as well order a piece because it's gonna take longer when you get there. Having a budget for them is crucial, right? To kind of go back to it, there is a lot of line items. At the same time, IPD is staying current with the current salaries and whatnot, right? I mean, there's a shortage of cops, to be honest with you. We're down 500 cops, and there's not even enough cops to cover the cops that are retiring. So on the same token, you have to stay competitive, or you're not going to have the top quality law enforcement that you do have here. So, like setting a percentage or whatever that may be, I don't know if I can agree with that. That's something I have to look at the numbers and come up with a good decision on. But I think taking care of our first responders should be our top priority.
And Zach, again, the question, and again, number has not been verified by the board here. Did you know the city of Isanti spends almost 60% of its budget on police? Do you think their service shows or warrants this?
That's a tough question, as I don't, not involved with the police department. I'm not currently on the board, so all this is a lot of information to take on at once. Like I said, this is something I'd have to learn more about, but, just from my perspective, it seems, I don't know what the word would be. It wouldn't make sense if you're gonna try to reduce funding to the police. I mean, we see it all over the state, and we've seen it, like, we're not gonna defund the police. That's just not, I don't think that's any of our goals at this point. To make it affordable, make the police department affordable for the residents, that's it, that's key, but that's gonna have to be looked at the numbers and what is affordable. And what does the police force need? We talked about jobs in the city too. All right, so how can we even pay an officer the adequate wage in our city so that he can do his job in our city and have that job? We don't want them going down to the city of Minneapolis or St. Paul just because it pays more. If they can be a good cop and work here. So like I said, we don't want to lose good cops either, so.
If you believe that it's 60% or so on, I mean, I can see that, as we did get a new police department this year, and we've also had to purchase a lot of new technology, as a lot of the stuff has been overdated or they can't cross on what they already have. So I could see it currently being that. I would say within the next couple of years, I assume it would go down just a little bit, just because we don't have these bigger purchases that we don't need in every squad car, or we don't need all this extra stuff just because it's already been purchased. And I think as of right now, it was needed to be purchased so that we can do this again in, let's say, 20 years again, when technology is different.
Jacob, we'll start with you. You'll have 30 seconds. Would you be able to justify spending $1 million plus on a small splash pad?
That's something that you'd have to look down at the numbers at. This is the benefit of government, that you have a little bit of time to figure things out. And for me, you have to look at the operating costs. what we can recuperate, right? So I know the city of Princeton has one, and the residents, is provided free, however, anyone on the outside, we get charged, basically a cover charge. So looking at that and seeing if that's something that is feasible.
All right, $1 million, that's a huge expense. That's a huge expense for the city. And as I sit and have heard all the budget talks recently and some of the new park remodeling that's gonna be happening, some of that budget that was originally allocated for the splash pad is now being allocated to updating some of these parks, Bluebird Park, and adding a park over on the west side of town where we're getting a lot of housing development going in, a lot of new residents, so we don't have to crowd across 65 to go to a park. So that's gonna be, I think, where the money's gonna go. I don't think we have the money to put another $1 million in the splash pad.
Taylor, again, the question, would you be able to justify spending $1 million on splash pad?
As a mom, of course, why not? But as a business person, no, I wouldn't see it, just because, again, we want to lower the taxes, and that is gonna be a huge situation, that it could increase our taxes. But then we need to be open-minded on if the community wants it, and if we have enough inquiries, it might be something that I would look into to see if there's other options, or if we could take donations. Like Princeton does have a lot of donations from everyone around Princeton to help them get that started.
The city of Isanti, our average family is 31 years old, and a splash pad would be great for the city of Isanti, but is it affordable? No, and you know, you look at the long-term maintenance costs on it and water usage, and we're already in trouble with our water usage. We're already almost peaked out. Maybe in the future, I would like to see more amenities for our younger families. And hopefully we can find a way to make that happen. We have some extra funds in the Park and Recreation Board we're working on right now to do that.
Zach, we'll start with you in 1 minute for our last audience question. What kind of relationship do you think Isanti should have with the city of Cambridge, and should they coordinate planning?
Yeah, yes. Why, I think the relationship should be very tight. We're almost two cities in one, you know, as far as the schools are concerned, it is essentially one city. All these kids go to the same high school in the end. My kids have played sports down in the community for a handful of years. I've coached on some teams, and I've met kids from both towns, and it is just, I don't know, it's just humbling. It's a delight to see kids from different towns, the two towns connecting, becoming friends, growing relationships that way. As far as cities go, they need to be on board with things. If growth is gonna continue, how far does Isanti continue to grow northbound to where we're almost into that main street where the middle school is and where the quick trip is. And Cambridge continues to grow too. Everything's almost connected now at this point. We feel like it doesn't take long to get from one to the other. So they definitely need to stay connected.
I would say yes as well. Again, schools is the number one thing. We combine all of our children once they get a little bit older to combine them. The second thing is what we do in Isanti reflects what happens in Cambridge. What Cambridge does to them does reflect us as well. We're also in the same county, so we have to keep that in mind, that we work together.
And George, the question again, what kind of a relationship do you think Isanti should have with Cambridge, and should they coordinate planning?
I think we're two different cities, definitely. We've cooperated with Cambridge in the past on a bike trail. I think Isanti needs to keep its own identity. I think the way they look at growth and the way Isanti looks at growth are completely different. And I think the way they spend money compared to the way Isanti spends money is definitely completely different. Yeah, in the future, 100 years from now, maybe we'll meet up in the middle, but I'm hoping when we do that Isanti comes out as a stronger, better city.
Those cities are remarkably close to each other. I had a choice between living in Isani and Cambridge. I chose Isani. I felt that the city was quite honestly safer. The people in our communities and this community a little bit more outgoing. Like I know my neighbors, I talk to my neighbors. If there's ever issues in my neighborhood, we don't need to take it to government. We handle it amongst ourselves and we take care of one another. So I think that's a lot of what I feel here in Isani, whereas in the city of Cambridge, they're developing a lot of apartments, a lot of large structures, which is not as neighborly. I used to live in an apartment when I was in the service and never met my neighbor. It was just not, it wasn't that type of community. Whereas in my current house, where it's a single family house, I go over to my neighbor's house, he goes to my house, there's a community there.
I'd like to take an opportunity to thank all the candidates for making it tonight. Taylor, we'll begin with you. You'll each have 1 minute, as we reach the end of our time here this evening, to share a closing statement.
Again, I'd like to state that I'm a mom and I'm a small business owner as I run a family childcare. Small word. Family childcare out of my home. Like I said before, I am on the Park and Recreation Board. So I like to keep in different perspectives as those things have been brought up. And again, this is still new to me, so I'm still learning, so I'm still okay with criticism. I'm here for it. Again, this is just a learning experience for me.
Throughout my life in Isani, I've consistently fought to ensure that government serves the people, not the other way around. You know, for decades, I've been a steadfast advocate for the rights and the voices of our community, and I've been standing up against overreach of government authority. My commitment to represent the will of the people has been unwavering. I've always been driven by a belief in accountability and responsiveness to the needs of our citizens. During my time on city council, I've worked hard to ensure that city policy reflects the interests and desires of our community. My record speaks for itself in champion policies that empower individuals and businesses. If you elect me to city council, I'll bring with me a wealth of experience advocating for effective, accountable government. You know, I humbly ask for your vote, your support, and if you have time, you can give me a call, 612-701-7293. I'd be glad to hear your thoughts, your concerns, or your ideas.
So I don't have a rehearsed speech. I think a lot of this just comes from my experience and honestly straight from the heart here, right? I have experience in a lot of fields. I've had a lot of positions. I've had to make a lot of quick decisions and had to think out of the box quite a few times to ensure that missions were met. I think that as a candidate versus my opponent who isn't here, I'm here for the people, right? All of my information, my website and everything's online. You just Google Jacob Miller, Isani, it's right there. You can reach me on Facebook or any of the social media, or you can just stop by my house and grab a beer from my fridge. So that's just the type of guy I am. Just a normal Joe who's never been on this side of the government per se. So I just want to ensure that your voices are heard. Thank you.
I just want to start off by saying that I think as you look at the candidates here, as you look at the city of Isani, we are a more conservative town. Not to piggyback on that last, or go back on that last question, but yeah, I definitely want to keep us more conservative. You know, I don't hear as good of news about Cambridge. But I don't see a bad candidate on this ballot right now. So I think we're in good shape as a city. I think we're in good shape on who you guys put through in the primary. So thank you guys for that. But I just wanna serve the community. I just wanna be an ear, and I would love for the opportunity. I'm a young man, young family man. I have wife, kids in the community, kids in sports, some upcoming newborns that, you know, whether I need childcare, preschool, or whatever it is, I want to be able to provide that for them in a town that I feel confident in a town that I feel safe, growing my children in. So, that's my goal in that. So, thank you guys.
Well, candidates, we thank you once again for your time this evening. Thank you. We'll now take a quick 10-minute break to switch groups. Candidates for the Cambridge-Isanti School Board can please gather near the right side of the stage in 5 minutes at 7:44 directions. Thank you, candidates.
Hello, hi, I am Brett Halverson. I am a resident of Isanti and a mother of two boys. I have a fourth grader and sixth grader currently enrolled in the Cambridge-Isanti school. I am also a small business owner in the community for the past 4 years. My husband, Jason, is also a small business owner in the community. So we are definitely vested in the community. I'm driven to listen extensively and research and educate myself on all topics and make decisions that support our students and educational needs. I am very much a processor, so questions like this, I'm not very quick-witted. I want to make rational decisions, and I really like to think about things. So, thank you.
Hi, I'm Heidi Sprendel. I have been on the board for Cambridge-Isanti School District for 12 years. So this is gonna be my 4th round. I have a 30-year-old adult with disabilities, and I have a 27-year-old daughter who's married and works in the community. And I'm a big advocate for kids with special needs. I believe that every student has a right to go to school. Every student has a right for an equal education. Critical thinking is a really big thing in my household, because if you don't have it, you're not going to get anywhere. I went to school in Cambridge. I graduated from Cambridge. I live in Isanti. I've been in Isanti for 24 years, just in my house, residential. Grew up in Cambridge though, and we are big advocates of Special Olympics. We just did equestrian, and we do champ shows. My number is always 612-998-5644. If you have questions, please call me. My door is always open.
Good evening. My name is Esther Schultz. I'm really excited to be here. I'm an author and a freelance writer. I have a bachelor's in management and human relations. I am married to my amazing husband, who is here this evening. And we have 4 children. Our oldest is a college student, and then our 3 youngest children are in the school district. I've had the amazing opportunity to really support and volunteer in our children's schools in the last 10 years. I've been a part of a parent advisory council for 3 years when our oldest son was in preschool, and I was elected secretary and led several committees. I've also been a part of the World's Best Workforce Committee in a previous district. I've been on parent panels, parent committees, community education advisory council. I helped lead a forum for mental health. I'm a huge advocate for mental health and the well-being of our students. And I was a part of the strategic planning committee, which was a really wonderful opportunity, and as well as volunteering in our schools, like picture day, which is always fun. But I've also had the opportunity to be on a career panel at the high school on several occasions as well as a guest speaker at the high school. And also was able to do some mock interviewing with the high school students. So just a little bit about me.
Thank you. My name is Becky Roby. I'm married to Robert or Bob Roby. We have 2 adult children. Esther, married to Joshua, and they have 4 children. And then our younger daughter, Carissa. We moved to Cambridge in 1995. We moved to Cambridge largely due to school. Before we moved here, we lived in the cities, and I did some research, and I knew we wanted to move to a more rural community, and Cambridge fit the bill. Great schools. Our daughters are graduates of the school. Very, very pleased to have been on that educational journey. While I was here, I actually worked in the schools for several years in a number of different positions. At that time, the school district was not hiring subs for full-time positions. And so once I learned that, I needed to look elsewhere. that took me to Princeton, Minnesota. And I just completed 25 years in the Princeton School District. I just retired this past spring. And I love teaching. Love teaching. My last year was probably my best year. I'm not one of those people that left because it was a bad place to be. It was just the right time. And this opportunity came about. And I look at it as my next educational opportunity. I love to learn, and that hasn't stopped. So I'm glad to be here. Some of the things I've been involved in as a teacher, I have been the chair, I guess you would say, of the department for most of my time there. I was on the site committee, which would mean I worked in the middle school and would have listened to a lot of the people at that site level. So I looked forward to the involvement on this school board.
Thank you. Candidates, you'll have 1 minute. Heidi, you'll begin. What issues do you believe are most important to citizens in the Cambridge-Isanti School District?
Right now, the cost of all basically the funding, because right now legislation put a burden on our system. They put all, the funding right onto the systems instead of having that extra little bucket that they would have to pay for the schooling. They put it all back onto the public, so that way it's coming out of the public dollars extra versus legislation. So we're dealing with legislation all the time, trying to promote, saying we need more funding from legislators. Another big thing is right now, we want to make sure our policies are a big thing. You know, we have policy meetings every day, and we want to make sure that all the rules are being met by staff, students, and community.
To echo her, budget is definitely an important item. We definitely are underfunded from the state, and so it's important that we take a look at that and see what we can do to advocate for our school district, as well as look at out-of-the-box ideas on how to get some of these things that we need to help support our educators. I also believe that the mental health and well-being of our students and staff and educators is a huge thing. Without having our well-being in place and in a good standing, it really does impact our the education of our students. So that is definitely something, and that kind of goes into the strategic plan. The strategic plan, just making sure that we are fully implementing that as well.
Again, the question, Becky, what issues do you believe are most important to citizens in the Cambridge-Isanti School District?
Yeah, as I talk to people in the school district, the thing I think I've heard the most is understanding what children are taught in the classroom and does it align with the community. I can give you an example of a way that I address this as a teacher that might be helpful as you consider me for school board. I had a parent who came in and she was concerned that her background, her nationality, which was Swedish, was going to be eliminated from the curriculum. And she was also concerned with the literature that was being taught in the classroom. And as I taught English, I welcomed her in. I said, come on in, let's look at what's being taught. She requested that she have a book prior to the teaching of it. I said, absolutely. And as a school board, I would hope to have that same open policy with the community.
Hi, I have heard mostly funding is the community's biggest concern. I have heard that in Minnesota, we're in the lowest 3% as far as how much per children, I believe is how it goes, that we're getting. So, you know, yes, do we ask from the state? Do we ask federal? I don't know. I'm trying to learn as we go and I hope that I can learn. I would also like to see more academic success, whether our tests are, we need to update our tests. Maybe we need to look at multiple tests, test scores rather than, one test that the kids take. I think mental health, I mean, lots of things to go. I don't, thank you.
Thank you, candidates. 1 minute here. Esther, on a related question, what issues do you think are most important to students, parents, and staff? And it would be beneficial if you could address each group in the response.
I think for each, answer for each individual student, staff, and parents. Okay. I think the issues for our parents, first of all, is to make sure that our kids are getting educated and making sure they're in a safe environment, that there's no bullying, and that each student is seen and heard every day. And that we're setting our children up for success for their future. For our staff, it's making sure that they have the right support, the right resources, and that sort of thing. For students, it's making sure that they are seen and heard and have a voice in their education and that they have opportunities to continue to learn and grow.
That's a good question. Again, reflecting back on my experience, for students, my last year, I was able to teach reading interventions to 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So I had students who were not at grade level, often very far below grade level. And I attribute a lot of the success I had with meeting every student where they were at and saying, we're all here for the same reason. We care about you. We have the answers for you. And we know that you can improve. So an atmosphere of, I can be successful and then give them the tool is huge. Staff, communication is huge. Teachers are often treated as second-class citizens these days. And I think if we trust one another, trust is probably not a good word, but if we talk to one another, we're going to find out that we're not as scary or as evil as we think we are.
Brett, again, the question is, what issues do you think are most important to students, parents, and staff? And please address each group in response.
I think students mostly want to fit in with their peers. So by, you know, helping them fit in the classroom, I know my boys want to fit in. Parents, I think they want their children to be safe at school. And I know that we want the best education for them. That's why they're in school. Staff, I feel like they want more help in the classroom, and they also want to be valued. Thank you.
I would say for the parents, definitely class size is a big thing for parents, making sure that those kids have that opportunity for growth. Having that smaller one-on-one class size is a little bit more personal. Staff, making sure that we are paying equitable amount so that we can keep them and retain their jobs and making sure that we have that bus driver, making sure we have that food staff, or making sure that our parents are having a kid come to school that are safe. Making sure that each kid is heard, each staff member is heard, making sure each parent is heard. That's what everybody values, is being heard and not just seen.
Are you familiar with the current strategic plan and how will you use this plan to guide your decision making? Candidates, you have 1 minute, and we'll begin with you, Becky.
Well, I'm becoming familiar with it. I know it has 4 points and they look really good. Say the second part again?
How will you use this plan to guide your decision making?
Okay, well, you have to have a goal. Otherwise, you're never gonna get there. And so the strategic plan is our district's goal, and it was a collaborative event of about 60 different people. It was staff, it was parents. You mentioned that you were on that. So I've been really impressed that people are coming together to work hard at coming up with a plan and with specific areas in which to work. Each strategy has some elements to help aid that goal. So working toward those will be helpful. But yeah, I look forward to working toward them.
Yeah, I am also learning the strategic plan. I think it's great that they got the community involved to help create the plan, and I think that more plans like this should be involved on creating more community community togetherness with the school and try to. Thank you.
Are you familiar with the current strategic plan and how will you use this plan to guide your decision making?
Yes, I am very familiar with this strategic plan. I was one of the ones originally that had been on the board when it first started, and continued with this one. And each plan has its own member group, and everybody worked diligently on this, on all group plans. And there's such a huge map to it. It's just amazing how everything works together, how all the community members work together, the board members that are on it. And then their staff and everybody, and it's just amazing, and it will work, and it has worked for many years, so.
As I mentioned in my introduction, I had the honor of being on the strategic planning committee. When I left that final night, I was really excited about the future of our school district, with this plan in place. So as a school board member, I would definitely be making sure that we are looking at the policies we have, passing new policies, that continue to help support implementing the strategic plan into the future. Because I really think it's beneficial for our students, leading us in the right direction.
One of the priorities in the school district's strategic plan is to improve the mental health and well-being of all students and staff. What will you do as a school board member to address concerns in our district about mental health? You'll have 1 minute.
I think mental health is physical, mental. Right now, what concerns me is our children's breakfast. They get a choice of sugar cereal, breakfast, muffins and banana bread, and it's not starting their day with protein. I feel like that can be part of mental health. I also think screen time. My middle schooler is constantly on his Chromebook in school, and I would like to see less electronics. And I do think that has, we try to control electronics at home. I would like to see that controlled a little more at school. As far as teachers, I really think that they are feeling stressed with the lack of help in their classroom.
I believe we need to talk to legislators and tell them that we need more funding for our mental health students and for our staff. Also working with Alina is a big thing, making sure that they are helping support our community and having them support our staff and our kids and even our parents. You know, working with the county, you know, maybe having that extra help will help us get these kids a little bit more help than they already have or still need.
Again, the question, one of the priorities in the school district's strategic plan is to improve the mental health and well-being of all students and staff. What will you do as a school board member to address concerns in our district about mental health?
I'm a huge advocate for mental health and the well-being of all of our community members. And so, this is definitely something that's gonna be on my radar. I think it's important that not just our students, but our staff, our educators are provided the support that they need through their benefits package and that sort of thing. Just making sure that we're reaching out to the community through community education and making sure resources are available and information is provided to parents and community members so that they can also get the help that they need and so that they can help their students and also make sure that we are supporting our teachers and all of our educators on this as well.
Yeah, regarding mental health, several things come to mind. Brought up a couple of them, but COVID is, I hate to bring it up again, but there are layers to the impact of COVID in our classrooms. And every year it feels like we're uncovering a different thing. So we can talk about that more if you want, but I think that structure, we know children thrive in structure. They have to have structure. We have to go back to boundaries. We have to go back to the grading system being consistent with solid expectations. We need to, we know that bullying happens more in locker bays than in the classroom. So we have to be aware of where things are happening and strategically place people to deal with those things. Electronics, they need to be left. And we need to have a no cell phone policy.
Candidates, you will have 1 minute. How will you approach decisions regarding curriculum selection and approval? Heidi?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Yeah. How will you approach decisions regarding curriculum selection and approval?
We have a teaching and learning program and we, as school board members, we do look over the curriculum. We do look at some of the books. And as members of the community, they can come in and look at them also. And we have a group that looks at it and says, okay, does this meet the guidelines for our community, for our classrooms? And then we have a teaching and learning individual, Jason, and he goes through it and gives us the recommendation as a school board, and that's how we vote on it.
Curriculum is definitely very important, and I know that it is definitely a part of the strategic plan is making sure that we have the right curriculum in place. I know that we are testing several curriculum right now, and so just continuing that process and making sure that it meets the needs of our students and really educates them and sets them up for success in the future.
Again, our question here is how will you approach decisions regarding curriculum selection and approval?
That is actually one of the questions that I asked, and I was pleased to find out that that Cambridge district is involving a lot of different players. This is one area that your teachers can help you. They study the standards. They are looking for what is the thing that these students need to be an informed citizenry and to be skillful in their future lives. And so as we study these, we put the curriculum next to that, and we study what meets those needs the best. Parents, we need to hear from parents. It's your community. Folks, this is an independent school district. We need to keep it independent, and we do that by hearing your voice. So you're vital to it. My understanding is they open it up so that you can look at the curriculum. Please do. It's essential that you see what's being taught in our classrooms.
The decisions, I think it would be definitely recommended, the teachers would hopefully recommend them. They would look through it. I would need to learn on what makes a good curriculum and what doesn't. Also, is there data that, like, when it's a new curriculum, I'm just learning all this. When it's a new curriculum, is it something that has been taught in other schools where they have data that's saying that this is a good curriculum for our kids? So yeah, I will learn as much as I can about it if I get voted in.
Isanti County has a critical childcare shortage that is affecting both families and employers. Is there a place for the school district to help address this issue? If so, what do you recommend or support? Candidates, you'll have 1 minute to begin with us.
It's a great question. It is definitely a need that is in our communities today. It's definitely not something, I mean, it's definitely something that we can look at to see if it's an option for us to provide that through ECFE or the preschool that we currently have. So it's definitely something worth looking at to see how we could better help our community in that.
A lot of thoughts bouncing around in my head. I do know that preschools tend to be high income. When private schools start, they often start with preschool and they get their funding base built. So that's one thought I've got. Preschool can be met in many different ways. I think it's a good problem, frankly, that we have children in our district. Many districts are finding that the population is going down. And so that's a good problem for us to have to work on.
Again, our question, Isanti County has a critical childcare shortage that is affecting both families and employers. Is there a place for the school district to help address this issue? If so, what do you recommend or support?
I guess I didn't realize that there was a childcare shortage. It would be, I mean, all of our neighbors are very close around. I mean, I would be willing, I would want to help my neighbors if anything ever came up. And yeah, I think that that would be something that they have childcare at the beginning of school and at the end of school. I think that it would be beneficial to maybe we need more workers. Maybe we need more people to help with the childcare. Thank you.
I do know there is a wait list for both Cambridge and Isanti, for the childcare area. And there's a lot of places that could open up more for childcare because we do have a lot of families that are moving in, a lot of families that are having more children, and younger children. And I think we could partner with different amenities and maybe open up another area. Maybe a building that's empty could be used for another daycare. So that's something to be open-minded about.
The mission of Cambridge-Isanti Schools, in partnership with our community, is to educate, empower, and inspire every student every day to achieve their full potential. What portion of the district mission statement is powerful for you? Candidates, you'll have 1 minute. Thank you. We'll begin with you.
Well, the part I think that's most impactful to me is the part I struggled with most. It was every child, every day, because as a teacher, that's tough. Every child, every day, almost seems insurmountable. And then I reflected on my last year of teaching, and I thought, Teaching reading interventions, every child, every day. I looked at where they were, I looked at where they needed to be. And every day I helped them get there. And I think that's what it's all about. We want to have a great school for our kids. We want to have a great place for them to learn. We want them to be safe. And our goal is to work on that for every student every day.
Hi, I also agree, every child, every day, because that is, everywhere throughout our schools. Every child needs to be heard, whether, they made a mistake or, whether they did something great, and we need to support them either way.
Again, our question here, the mission of Cambridge-Isanti Schools in partnership with our community is to educate, empower, and inspire every student every day to achieve their full potential. What portion of the district mission statement is powerful for you?
I would agree with what they said, but I would say the whole statement. And it put a lot of process into putting that statement out for our headline. But for me, it's educating all the kids, no matter what age level, from the time you get on a bus to the time you go home. It's your bus drivers, your food service, your support staff, your teachers, your administration. Everybody does a role in it. And it's not just one person, it's everybody. And it's educating from the time they come on the bus and you get that first smile to the time you go home and you get that last smile. And it's about asking how your day was. What did you learn today? You know, how can we help you? I believe education, no matter what disability you have, you're able to learn. My 30-year-old still learns every day. Nothing changes.
I really love our mission statement. We actually rewrote that mission statement while we were part of the strategic planning committee. And I was fortunate to be a part of that. And I really loved that we included every student every day when we rewrote the mission statement this year or last year. Yeah, last year. But the reason I love it is because there are so many students in our district that sometimes feel like they're getting overlooked. And I know it's an area of weakness that we currently have. I really want to be a voice for them and make sure that we are meeting that mission of every student every day.
How would you approach making tough budgetary decisions, such as addressing potential deficits or reallocating resources? Provide examples of how you would balance budget constraints with the need to invest in critical areas. Candidates, you'll have 1 minute, beginning with that.
Well, looking at the budget, and I mean, the school board is a big umbrella of the lighting to the gas in the buses. Do we need to look at transportation and try to cut back on school routes or school bus routes? I mean, you have to look at it as a whole and figure out what could be cut and where, you know, we don't want to cut teachers' salaries. We need to have more aides. I'm still learning and would love to learn more about this. Thank you.
Having an amazing, and I will say amazing, finance director is what takes your school district to the next level. Making sure that that person knows where our funds are, along with your school board finance person. But we have cut so much out of our budget, but now we're adding back in to spots that we had to deplete. But making sure you have that finance director who will actually make sure that our staff gets what they need, making sure that every student gets what they still need. If it's coming from a different school for Chromebooks, or if it's smart boards, having that one person know exactly what our budget is and making sure that they are working with our auditors, making sure that everything is crossed to the T. I mean, your finance director is the one who is the person that you should have.
Our question again, how would you approach making tough budgetary decisions, such as addressing potential deficits or reallocating resources? Provide examples of how you would balance budget constraints with the need to invest in critical areas.
It's a good question. I know that there's been some struggles with the budget in the past, and I know that the board and the finance director has worked really hard in improving the budget. And we're at a pretty good place right now, which is exciting to see. But being in a district where we have low funding from the state, we have to be willing to look at other options, think outside the box. What are some other areas where we could maybe make some cost cutting that doesn't negatively impact our teachers and our students?
I agree. It was fun meeting with, Chris and the superintendent and talking with them and, coming from a deficit to being out of a deficit. I think kudos to them for that. That takes some talent. I don't know. But, relocation was part of the question of funding. And this might be very, controversial, I don't know, but first of all, I think we need to prioritize educational basics. Bottom line, that has to be first for school. Then I think we need to scale back on some of our technology. The idea that we're going to be somehow this paperless society. I will tell you, students retain information better when they write it down. And I don't think that students need to be taking their Chromebooks necessarily again, this is going to be controversial, but I think that we can pull back on some of our spending so that we can give them access to it, but not to the degree it is right now.
Our next question will start with Heidi. You'll have 1 minute. What criteria would you use to make decisions about continuing, expanding, or cutting specific programs?
If it was up to me, we wouldn't cut any programs because every student needs those programs to learn. It's hard to do a cut. I've been there multiple times during a cut and it's hard. You see it from the teacher's point, you see it from a bus driver's point, food staff, and the students. It's hard on everybody and you don't want to be the one that has to do it. And I don't want to do it.
Can you repeat the question, please?
What criteria would you use to make decisions about continuing, expanding, or cutting specific programs?
I think you always have to keep in mind what is in the best interest of the students when evaluating this. It's important to have as many opportunities as possible for our students to succeed and set a great foundation for their future. And so if we can find ways to still provide these opportunities for our students without cutting things, I think that's the best way to approach it.
Again, our question here is what criteria would you use to make decisions about continuing, expanding, or cutting specific programs?
Yeah, again, it goes back to prioritizing education basics. And that doesn't mean, let me clarify, that doesn't mean that I'm against choir or sports or languages. So that's all part of their educational process. Music is essential for the brain. But we have to look, I have been through a number of situations where a new program will come through. We waste an awful lot of money bringing programs through and then trying them for a year or two and then trying a different one. I think that we really need to be careful about the choices that we make. And is it something that we can pilot, that we can do on the front end, and that we can really implement to make our educational experience better for our students?
We are here for the education of our kids, so I guess looking at the budget, seeing where everything is going to make sure it's right. Maybe we could co-op with another school. Maybe instead of, having funds go towards, sports, maybe it would be their own association. I mean, I guess we have to look at the whole picture, and depending on what we would cut or maybe add.
Beginning with Esther candidates, you'll have 30 seconds. What are two attributes of the Cambridge-Isanti School District that set it apart from others?
I think the first attribute is the community. We moved into this school district in 2020 and from a previous school district, not too far from here. And we immediately felt at home. And I really believe that that sets us apart is the community support, the parents' involvement, and that sort of thing. And then I really believe that the educators that we have in our buildings and the superintendent that we have is really leading us in the right direction to really have an amazing school district. Thank you.
Yeah, my two words would be friendliness and student-centered. When I worked here, previous to my experience in Princeton, everyone I worked with was just amazing, friendly. And even after I went to Princeton, I would meet someone and they were always positive and encouraging. This is a friendly place to be. And the people that I worked with truly cared about their kids. And they really worked to make sure that that they were loved, that they were cared for, that they were getting the academic experience that they needed and deserved.
Again, our question here, what are two attributes of the Cambridge-Isanti School District that set it apart from others?
I think the staff has been great. With my boys going through school, I cannot tell you enough how great the staff has been. Helpful if they need help with something they're working on. Also, I would say the community is very involved in, the community is very involved in the education.
Two that come to mind would be our community supports our schools. Even if they don't have kids in our schools, they come to our games. Also, our teachers have a passion to teach. Our bus drivers have a passion to teach. Our food staff have a passion to teach. Everybody plays a part in our kids' lives, and it's a passion to educate.
Candidates, you'll have 1 minute. What will you do to address bullying in the district? We'll start with you guys.
Wow, that's a hard one. Kids are nasty sometimes, you know. Part of it is finding out where it's happening. And then when you find out, do something about it. You need to do something. Kids need to know that there will be consequences and they need to be severe. It's not tolerated. How is it not tolerated? There has to be a specific laid out plan. If this is what you do, this is the consequence. This is not about feelings. This is not accepting that community. And I do know that places that are unstructured are often the places this happens. I will tell you, I did a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade survey of my students, and their primary place where they felt most unsafe was the lunchroom. They look most forward to it and they feel most unsafe. Okay, so knowing that, helps us make decisions so that our kids can have those safe places. So maybe just asking more questions. Kids will tell you if you ask.
Kids can be so mean, especially middle school ages, I guess all ages. I honestly think that it would be great if, like, the counselors could meet maybe in more small groups and do role playing. I really think that growing up, I really would have liked to have seen a counselor. And I wasn't a kid to act out but just to have the option, and I didn't know that I could go see one. So maybe kids don't even know that they can go and talk to a counselor just about anything, not even about bullying. Thank you.
And again, our question, what will you do to address bullying in the district?
We do have a policy for bullying, but we do ask every student, if you see bullying, if you are being bullied, speak up, because everybody has a voice and everybody has eyes. So, everybody needs to be heard. So we do have policies, and it's also in the handbook for students, and staff. You know, it does happen once in a while that even at my own workplace, it's happened. So being a voice is a good thing, and policies from MSBA that we follow are a good policy.
I think it's important that we really listen to our children and believe them when they are expressing their concern of being bullied. I think sometimes there is this idea that kids will be kids, and we need to move away from that and really listen and believe our children when they are bringing these things to us. I think it's also important that we look at the children who are bullying. Why are they bullying? Is there something going on? There's a saying, hurt people hurt people. And so if there are kids that are bullying other kids, is there a reason? There's always a reason why. And so I think it's important that it's a twofold thing. We have to believe and listen to our children. And then we also have to figure out why these kids are bullying in the first place and get them the help that they need as well.
Candidates will each have 30 seconds, starting with Brett. What role do you believe partisan political beliefs play in being a school board member?
I'm sorry.
The question is, what role do you believe partisan political beliefs play in being a school board member?
I don't believe they should be in the school at all. I am very non-political, and I just don't think that it has anything to do with the school. So, thank you.
It's a fine line. You're gonna have policies, you're gonna have, political things. It's all about education. And if the parents want to educate their kids at home about it, that's great. If we want to do it at school, there's a class for history. And it's teaching kids about being adults. You know, they're gonna either want to learn to voice their own opinions or be part of the political.
Again, our question here is, what role do you believe partisan political beliefs play in being a school board member?
I believe it's a nonpartisan position, and I think that when we come together, of course, we're all gonna have our different thoughts and ideas and beliefs. There's room at the table for all of us to share our thoughts and opinions, but at the end of the day, it's about educating our children and making sure that our educators are receiving the support and the help that they need to educate our children. And so it is a nonpartisan position. I don't think we should be making decisions that have to do with anything outside of that. Thank you.
I don't think I have anything to add. I agree. It is a nonpartisan position as a school board member. And you're right, we do come from different backgrounds and with different thoughts, but together, we work together toward a common goal. And that is to see our students do the very best that they can, so.
Candidates, you'll again have 30 seconds. How would you handle a constituent coming to the board with conspiracy theories or unfounded accusations of wrongdoing?
There's a process. First, you start at your school level, you go to the teacher, you go to your principal, then it goes to the, teaching and learning, and then it goes to the superintendent. There's a process and everybody needs to follow it.
I love that there's a process for that. But at the end of the day, people want their voice to be heard, and I think it's important that we allow people to share their thoughts and ideas and opinions. We may not be able to, fall in line with what they're saying, and we may disagree. And we may not make decisions based on the things that they're bringing to our attention, but at the end of the day, people just want to be heard. And so I think it's important to hear what people have to say.
Our question, how would you handle a constituent coming to the board with conspiracy theories or unfounded accusations of wrongdoing?
I agree with you. I also think it's a loaded question. I think that there's some words in there that are pre-assuming that something's a conspiracy theory. And I think we have to be really careful in judging one another. And I think we need to look into it, not just name call. So conspiracy theory, and the other word was,
Unfounded accusations
Yeah.
of wrongdoing.
thank you. How do we know it's unfounded? Okay, again, we need to look into it. Okay, we're not mudslinging. We need to take these things seriously.
I think we should communicate. I think we should ask what they are questioning. I mean, it's all about communication. Ask what they think that is a conspiracy theory, help them learn, and show them, what is being done rather than, what they think is being done or what their thoughts are on whatever their concern is.
Our next question, candidates who have 30 seconds, we'll start with you guys. Knowing our district is among the lowest funded in the state, what out-of-the-box ideas do you have for raising funds?
That's a great question. I think it's important that we don't immediately look to the taxes and raising taxes and that sort of thing. I think it's important to see what other options there could be in our community, or what other options, maybe when we're looking at school uniforms or that sort of thing. Is there a cheaper alternative where we still get the same quality, the same kind of support and that sort of thing? Making sure that we are looking at all the options available. Out of the box, oh, sorry, let me finish.
Knowing our district is among the lowest funded in the state, what out-of-the-box ideas do you have for raising funds?
Well, I do have a little concern. We are an independent school district. And I think that we've become dependent on funds from other places. I think we need to rethink our budget a little bit and decide what we can do within our budget. And then I do think that we can be creative with other things. All while recognizing that our students should be receiving a free and public education. That is their right. So creativity, but wise use of what we have.
We do a lot of fundraising with our students already. We do a lot of fundraising with sports, and the community is very receptive of that. What about co-oping with other, school districts in the area? I know that, they used to do that. I'm not sure how much they do that anymore, but that could be another option.
I would say maybe writing grants, finding the money that's out there. There's grants that are out there. There's extra funding, not leaning on the public as much. Just finding that extra grant that's out there that we've gotten so many grants. We had a wonderful grant writer that retired, and now we have, another one, and she does a wonderful job, but finding that grant out there to support our students would be a wonderful job.
Candidates will have 30 seconds, starting with you, Becky. Do tampon machines belong in the boys' bathrooms at schools? Our residents want to know how you vote on this.
Absolutely not. I don't think so either.
I would agree that they don't.
They're not needed in boys' bathrooms.
Candidates, again, 30 seconds, beginning with you, Brett. As some families live too close to elementaries within Cambridge and Isanti, would you look into providing busing or transportation for preschoolers as parents' work schedules aren't flexible, especially for childcare providers who don't transport children who would like their own child to attend preschool?
So you're asking if busing is available. I had a friend who they walked to school and he was little and they couldn't walk their kid to school. I would pick him up sometimes, but I would love for that to happen because that's so scary. I mean, we are waking up at 6 a.m. to get these kids off to school and it's still dark out. So yeah, I do think that that should be an option.
I guess that's something I would have to look into. I know it's like a 1 mile radius. I know my daughter walked to school when she was younger. My son walked to school when he was that age, but with me. But I do get there's times where parents can't get their kids there. And maybe that is something that the school district needs to look at.
Esther, I'll repeat the question. As some families live too close to elementaries within the Cambridge and Isanti School District, would you look into providing busing or transportation for preschoolers as parents' work schedules aren't flexible, especially for childcare providers who do not transport children but would like their own child to attend preschool?
It's a good question. I think it's something that we should look at. As a preschooler, they're very young and expecting them to walk to school may not be an option for them, especially if they are at a daycare that may be a little bit further away from where their home is. And so I think it's something that we should look at. And is it something that would fit within our budget? And could we meet this need for our parents? Thank you.
My brain is going in lots of places with this question too. I know that busing is currently an issue. I asked what the 3 top challenges in the district were. One of them was busing. So that's in my mind rattling around. The other thing that comes to my mind is the number of the idea that the work schedules can't be altered, and that the question that pops in my mind is, then are these families at home? These children are too young to be on their own and need to be monitored somehow.
Candidates, as we approach the end of our evening, you'll each have 1 minute to share a closing statement.
Like I said, I'm Cambridge-Isanti School Board Chair right now. I was elected by 6 other members to be the chair. Before that, I was a finance individual. And I've been on many boards between legislation, finance, policies, ACMEC, Minnesota State High School League. So I've been around for a little bit, for 12 years. I believe that every student has a goal in life to be educated. every student needs to be heard, every student needs to be taught. Our staff need to be heard, our staff need to be given the tools so they can teach everybody. And right now we have more buses coming. We just brought in, I believe it was 8 more buses, 6 or 8 more buses. They are in a rotation. Sometimes it's a little bit slower because of the building criteria. But I believe our students do need to have an education, and I'm here to help them get that education.
I first want to thank the chamber for putting this evening on. It was fun to be a part of it. I want to thank the moderator and the timekeeper for keeping us on track and asking such amazing questions, and the community for being here and providing those amazing questions. It's exciting to see so many people either at home watching or even here just providing those questions. I want to thank you for considering me as a potential school board member. And I hope you're able to get to know a little bit more about who I am. Thank you.
Again, I want to thank you for coming this evening and taking the time to be involved. I would love to continue my work in education and making sure that the Cambridge-Isanti students and parents and business owners and all of the players who care about students have a say in their independent school districts. And I'm here to work for you. I am your representative if you vote for me, and I would love to hear from you. I want to hear from all of the players so that we can come back and we can consider, this is how we know what our community wants. And so I'm hopeful that my experience as a teacher for the last 25 years and listening to parents and working with teachers and administrators and working with the educational community will be of service as I come back to the Cambridge-Isanti district, so that we can have great students with great education. Thank you.
In my business, I serve people all day. I want to serve the people. I want to be the voice of the community. I will strive to be a good listener. If there's an issue, I tend to see both sides of the story. I really think that I could learn about the budget. I would learn and do everything that I can to help the school board. I have common sense. I'm observant. I hope to be a positive voice in the community. And I would like to ensure successful educational outcome for my boys and all the Cambridge-Isanti students now and in the future. Thank you.
As our time comes to an end, I thank you candidates for taking time out of your evening to spend with us. Audience members, thank you for attending. And once again, thank you to Anoka Ramsey for hosting the chamber, putting on such a wonderful event. Everybody get home safe. Links to recordings should be made available through the North 65 Chamber of Commerce website and the YouTube channel. Again, thank you once more and have a great evening.